Hey, what's up guys? Chase Oliver here, bringing you another WWE RAW review for the July 24th, 2018 edition. Before I get started with this RAW review, shout out to my affiliate, WrestlingWithWrestling.com. Without them, I wouldn't be doing RAW reviews every week. Or maybe that's a bad thing, because honestly, Monday Night Raw this week was... Really, to be honest, I can go on this review and talk about, like, Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre and how that became all of a sudden the tag team match with Seth Rollins, and sure, that was a fine matchup. I can come on here and talk about all the other stuff like the tag team title, the random Titus Worldwide trying to recruit the Authors of Pain. I can talk about all that. But really, to be honest, we all know that was filler junk. It was like WWE was saying, look, next week we're in Miami, the Beast is going to be in town, Ronda's going to be in town. Heck, we made a whole card for next week's Raw. This Raw only mattered about two things. That was this big announcement that Stephanie McMahon had, and Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley. All that other stuff, like Kevin Owens getting a match with Care Bear at SummerSlam for the briefcase, that didn't matter. Mojo Rawley kind of approving every week, that doesn't matter. What only matters is these two themes for Monday Night Raw this week. That's how I felt. I really felt that's all they cared about was this big announcement and Reigns and Lashley, because everything else just fell flat. Like, it just didn't feel right. It was just kind of like, you know, if you ever been to a restaurant and you ordered a meal, right? And you got the main entree, and the main entree is good, and then the second entree is good, but then everything else is just kind of bleh. Like, the side salad that you got wasn't really that good. It was just kind of like an okay side salad. Then the third or fourth entree that you ordered, they're just kind of like the third or fourth sides. They're not that good. They're just kind of eh. But then you got the two, like the barbecue meat combo, and you got like the two other, you know, meats, and the two meats are really good. That's how it felt with this week's Raw, was that there was only two things that mattered. And the first thing that mattered was this big announcement. It kicked off Raw. Heck, all the superstars, even Nikki Cross, who is not even a main roster superstar, they were all on the stage. And guess what? Vince McMahon was already in the ring. Yep, Vince McMahon did not even get an entrance. He was already in the ring. Freaking Vincent Kennedy McMahon getting the jobber treatment of entrances. And he goes ahead and introduces Stephanie and Triple H. And this is supposed to be Stephanie's big time announcement, but oh no. Triple H plays his mind games, brother. He won't even put his own wife over, dude. Triple H goes on and he rambles on like, I'm so proud of every single one of you. Every single one of you have showed us that we can believe in a women's evolution. All of you have made me cry. I don't know if you know this, but you made me cry. And it was just like, okay, we know where this is going. Get to the point. And then you have Stephanie going on and saying, you know what? This is for all the women. You guys step up. All the men behind you support you and want you to succeed. That is why on October, with 50 plus women, then, now, and forever, we're going to have a pay-per-view called Evolution. And I just heard the Evolution theme song in my head. All right, cool. These women are getting this pay-per-view called Evolution. Good for them. Do I really care all that much? Not really, because I know WWE and their consistency with storylines, it won't be anything too special. It'll most likely be the Ronda storyline I only really care about, and whatever Steph McMahon weasels her way into. You know, that's how I really feel about the Women's Evolution pay-per-view. What, they make the women's tag team titles? Like, do you really think I'm gonna so really care about that? It's like, really, to be honest, they're gonna add another belt that won't mean anything that they do to women's tag titles. Just honestly, and then the hokey promos that you got for the rest of the night. Oh, like it was like that was the first thing that these wrestlers. I didn't feel like these wrestlers were actually talking. It just felt like they were just there to promote it. Like even Sasha and Bayley, they were the first promo, and you would think, after you made this announcement that they're going to have an all-women's pay-per-view, you would think WWE, if they had the balls, and even though people would say, Chase, this would be a terrible episode, they did that. No, if they had the balls and said, so tonight, I know we got a big main event already scheduled, but Kurt, we're having an all women's match until the main event, I would have been like, you sold me. I even though these matches probably won't be good, they're not building any feuds. Look, you already threw this week away. This week we already knew was a throwaway week because you showed that you care about what's going to happen next week in Miami. If you would have just made it where it's like, you know what, these next 2 hours we're going to show you what Evolution's going to be about, and you're going to see all these women matches, even from all brands, just to give you a preview for something that could happen in October. To me personally, that would have been ding, ding, ding. This episode is a winner. But instead, they just went with the motions. They had, like, what, 3 women matches on the show tonight. Then most of them were just kind of jumbled in. And then we just got a bunch of promos where guys were like, yeah, I'm excited for the women's evolution, but I got to go beat up Kurt Angle now or something. Like who starts a promo? Like, Charlie Caruso's just standing there like, oh, what did you think about the women's evolution? It was great, but I'm more worried about beating up, like, Zack Ryder. Like, they were just talking about how they want to beat up other wrestlers. It was weird. It was dumb. It just made no sense. But yeah, when it comes down to it, that was like a huge thing for Raw this week, was this women evolution thing. And honestly, like I said, if they would have followed it up with some women matches or women stuff for the rest of the night, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, Chase, that would have been terrible. But hey, at least it's consistent, and at least it shows they have balls to at least give us women for the next 2 hours. WWE is not the first company to do women's pay-per-view. Hell, there's like companies that have done all women shows. There's companies that are all women too. Just to me personally, this all women show, I'm happy for the women for them being able to get the show. I'm happy for the payday that they're going to get. But honestly, I don't see how this turns out good, because it's not anything with the women. It's more on the WWE and their writing. So we'll have to wait and see. So then we got a bunch of filler stuff that I kind of already summed up on and stuff like that. Seth Rollins is going to fight for the IC title again at SummerSlam, because that's what we definitely need and want. And then we get to the main event, Reigns versus Lashley. We all knew this was going to happen. You know what RAW stands for? Roman always wins. Triple H Golden Children booking at its finest. Lose on the pay-per-view, where it doesn't matter, but when the match matters the most, you don't put the man over, because Triple H did not want Roman Reigns to lose when it mattered. Vince didn't want Roman Reigns to lose when it mattered, and Roman Reigns beat Lashley when it mattered, because that's how it works, Jack. And now we're getting Reigns versus Lesnar. Again. Look, I'm a Roman Reigns fan. I just want something different. The Roman Reigns ship, you missed it at WrestleMania. Now you're trying to redeem it at SummerSlam. Your second biggest show of the year. How does that make any sense? Where your biggest show of the year, the show where you have more eyeballs on your product than any other show throughout the whole year, unless something crazy happens at SummerSlam, like The Rock is going to wrestle there or something like that, and you don't put this title on Roman Reigns, you hesitate and you have Lesnar retain. Then you go to Saudi Arabia, which you could argue, you know, maybe your second biggest show this year because of all the attention it got with the Saudi Arabians and everything like that, at the greatest Royal Rumble, and you still don't put the belt on Roman Reigns. So now you're going to go to SummerSlam and quite possibly for a third time, maybe not put the belt on Roman Reigns. For all these people that always feel like Roman Reigns is a Vince McMahon guy, shut the fuck up. Because if Vince really liked this guy, he would have put the belt on him. Roman Reigns is a Triple H guy, and Triple H is trying to make sure this guy wins the belt. Point blank, period. Vince never hesitates when he has a superstar. You like see John Cena in 07, 08. When did Vince ever hesitate with John Cena? He never hesitated with Cena. He shoved Cena down our throats. For all these people that always say, oh, Reigns is shoved down our throats, just like in Reigns' promo, deal with it. Because if you think Reigns is shoved down our throat, I wonder when you started watching wrestling. Because Cena in 07, 08, Orton in 04, you get the gist. There was way worse shoves than Roman Reigns. And for anyone that says, well, Reigns is the worst, Look, if Reigns was a Vince guy, he'd be an 8-time world champion. The dude is only a 3-time world champion. He hasn't held a world title in 2 years. Do not tell me this guy is shoved down our throats. Please. If this guy was shoved down our throats, this motherfucker would be an 8-time world champion. But there's no denying that WWE could have gone with the fresh option. They could have gone with Bobo. They could have gone with the Walking Armageddon, the Destroyer. But instead, they went with the safe option. They were saying to themselves, look, how much are people really going to be invested in Lashley? Sure, the wrestling fans are invested in Lashley, but we're talking about those casual fans. How many people are really going to look at Lashley and Lesnar and say, I want to get SummerSlam? I want to get my free month of the network so I can just cancel it immediately to watch Lashley versus Lesnar. No. They went with what they felt is better business with Reigns and Lesnar. It's an argument that you can have what would have been better business. But for us as wrestling fans, the better business was Lashley versus Lesnar. That match, us as wrestling fans, because we're the ones who watch the product, could have spread and made bigger than it is. But no, they decided, let's give what the wrestling fans are already lukewarm to, because there's some fans that are still excited for Reigns and Lesnar. I don't know how you can be, but there are some fans that are still excited for this matchup. Let's give it to a match that fans are lukewarm on and most likely could attract casuals further down the line, because Roman Reigns is The Rock's cousin after all. And you can do all this bullshit where it's like you make Roman Reigns seem like he's been dominant throughout this whole year when clearly he hasn't. So yeah, that's the route the WWE is taking. I just always hate when people say Roman Reigns is a Vince guy. It's very uneducated. You know he's a Triple H guy, because if he was a Vince guy, he would be an 8-time world champion. Facts. But yeah, we're getting Reigns and Lesnar again. And my personal opinion, if Reigns and Lesnar is on a squash match, and I'm talking about Reigns just squashing Lesnar to win the Universal title, then what's the point? And before anyone says, why would you have Lesnar get squashed? Just to play off the fact that Lesnar doesn't care and he's never around and he hasn't been ready to defend his title would make sense. Would be something that I believe. Would be something that would help Brock Lesnar moving forward and wouldn't hurt him in his upcoming fight with Daniel Cormier. Just saying. Be a quick little paycheck for Brock Lesnar. Be a shocking moment for wrestling fans. Just saying. I just don't see why you should do another match. And even if you just force Lashley in there and make it a triple threat for whatever dumb dick reason, I don't even think I would care. Because it would just be like you're just putting Lashley in there as like the fall guy or the alternative guy for fans who are sick of Lesnar and sick of Reigns to cheer for. But they really don't want to cheer for it. They're just kind of like, we're forced to cheer it. And that's not good. I like Lashley. Don't get me wrong. I like Lashley. But that will just be a situation where fans are like, whoa, I'm going for Lashley just because. So yeah. Overall, this week's episode of Raw, to me, it wasn't the worst episode I ever seen. It was bad. But it was bad for the execution reasons of you announced this WWE Evolution event to make it seem like the women have so much power on your show and are such a big impact for your show. And instead of following that up with giving us some good women wrestling content for the first 2 hours instead of the usual crap, you go with the usual crap. You literally just said that this show was a nothing show. That this show only had 2 things that mattered and everything else was thrown away. Raw in Miami next week actually looks pretty solid. Like, if you look at what's announced with Lesnar and Ronda, you look at the matches that we're going to get with McIntyre and Seth and Balor and Constable Corbin. I mean, we've seen those matches already, but at least you got some matches to kind of look forward to coming into next week's edition of Monday Night Raw. And as well, you got 2 segments that are pretty sure going to be fire because they have Lesnar finally coming back to jump around with Paul Heyman saying that Roman Reigns is a Samoan. And you have Ronda Rousey, which has been a highlight anytime she has been on Raw. So next week's Raw looks pretty solid, but this week's Raw was pretty bad. Anyways, what did you guys think about this week's edition of Monday Night Raw? Leave it in the comment section down below. If you guys like what you saw, give this video a big old thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at ChaseOliver68. Remember, guys, next week we will finally see the #1 contender to the UFC Heavyweight Champion, Brock Lesnar. Sometimes you don't have to give a shit in life. And And I always wanted a funhouse dressing room. Fucking Finn Balor. Yo! Yo!